This clip is from the Piano Inspires podcast, Season 2, Episode 18, featuring Rochelle Sennet with host Sarah Ernst.
So are there any other challenges or obstacles that you faced that you'd be willing to share in your journey?
Yes. So as I said, just you become very aware that there is not a lot of representation in terms of Black pianists. And so I can only count on just one hand, just the ones that come to mind. I remember the first time I saw Leon Bates, a pianist, Leon Bates performing. And then I was younger. I remember Awadajan Pratt at one point. Awadajan Pratt had just won the Naumburg, and so I was like, wow! And that was the first Black pianist to win an international competition. So I was like, oh, well, that's really cool. But just going to even some of the competitions, I just remember that wasn't always the most positive experiences. I had some positive, but less than positive because not a lot of people look like you. So, yeah, that's what I would say about that.
You know, looking back at that and seeing the landscape today, do you feel any differently? Because now you're also a teacher and a mentor for the next generation, right?
Yes.
And so how do you frame those experiences for yourself and for your students today?
Ensure that no student, do my best to ensure that no student is feeling left out.
Oh, that's lovely.
So with studio classes, for example, I'm spending a lot of time. They come in from week to week, they 101, and I'm telling them, I'm giving you suggestions, and I'm listening to them play. But at some point, you have to kind of teach them by just stepping back. And so my studio class approach is a little more of a moderator, just step back. So those, for example, a student performs, and then I actually keep track of this mentally, that I ensure that it's not always one person is not always the first person to lead the conversation. So my students are the ones that give the feedback. Hey, you can try this. Oh, I like this. Oh, I struggle with this. So I just let them talk. But I always say, okay, so-and-so, and point to someone that will lead. And it changes every single time a different person plays. So just those little things. And then also, even before they start playing, they all introduce themselves, and just to get everyone said, and then they share something that they're willing to share random about themselves. It could be, oh, I'm looking forward to having pizza when I leave here, just to kind of, and so that format I've been doing for years. And that I definitely, because of my experiences, that has shaped how I just even something as studio classes, just those little things. So I embrace students from various backgrounds and experiences, because we all have different experiences. And then you figure out what makes a student, hopefully you try to figure out what makes a student tick, of what they're interested in, what it is they want to do. And so that's my hope, is to try to guide every single one of them that comes through my door in the best way, because and within some of the negative experiences I've had, I would not wish that on anyone. So, but that's with my with my students. You asked me about transformative.
Yeah.
So in terms of identity, when I got to college, are we on college yet?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, let's dig in.
Okay. So as an undergrad, I was a student at, I remember when I was at San Francisco Conservatory, and I was also, again, having that same time when I was aware that, not a lot of representation in terms of Black pianists. And so I began to, let me look up Black composers. And this is before Google. I believe there was Yahoo, but I went to the library, and then actually the real physical catalogs.
Oh, yes.
So online was starting, but it was not fully developed online. But going through the real catalog, looking up Black composers. And anyway, I came across a recording of a piano concerto by George Walker.
Oh, fascinating.
And the pianist's name was Natalie Hindras, who was Leon Bates' teacher. And when I got that LP and went and listened to it, I was, oh my gosh, who is that? Who's playing? This piece is amazing. And that was a transformative experience. Changed my life. So I'm like, oh my gosh, there's this Black composer. And just, I wanted to know more. So that was another seed that was planted. And at the same time, what was happening is that I had a reintroduction to J.S. Bach as well. And so, believe it or not, actually, I was not a huge fan.
You're not alone in that. I think a lot of people discover Bach, right? Yeah.
And at one point I was doing lots of preludes and fugues as a child. And so I didn't, dude, it was fine. I remember doing a Bach competition actually as a kid. And, I was interested in the music of the 19th century. And so we were all required to take a year of harpsichord or forte piano. It was part of the curriculum.
That's lovely.
Which was great. So, they have a very robust early music program there. And I remember the mentor at the time, I wish I had the opportunity to tell her this, to say thank you. Her name was Lorette Goldberg. She was a brilliant harpsichord teacher. So she's, okay, we're going to reintroduce you to J.S. Bach. How's that sound? She figured out I wanted to play forte piano. So again, I was a kid that rationalized things. Okay, if either I play forte piano or I play harpsichord. Okay, I'm going to do forte piano. So because I don't have to play J.S. Bach.
Okay, I was going to say, is that because
yes,
the repertoire?
Yes, exactly. So she figured that out, and you'll still play forte, but you'll still do some harpsichord. How's that? Yeah. So then she chose. I remember the pieces she chose for me because she figured I loved 19th century music. Was the Allemande from the fourth partita.
Okay.
And then the opening movement of the sixth partita. And I loved it. Like, oh my gosh, that also changed my life as well. So a lot of these experiences I had as an undergrad is what shaped the project that I ended up embarking on years later.
Yeah. And it's quite the project. 9 discs of music.
Thank you. Thank you. So it would happen that I started playing more Bach and I wanted to know more. And then in fact, when I got my doctorate, my cognate field was performance practice. So even when I left the conservatory to pursue my master's at Michigan, I studied a year of forte piano as well. So just the early music bug was planted as well while I was still on this quest to learn more about Black composers at the time, which was not. There's not a lot of resources. So now there's a lot more, and even still, there's a lot of things that are still waiting to be found, and are waiting in the wings to be found. But I would say that my undergrad experiences what shaped that project. So it was always, and I was always programming music by J.S. Bach over the years, and music by Black composers or American composers. So it was I embraced not being, I didn't want to be labeled.
Yeah.
That, you're the contemporary buff, or you're the Bach buff, or you're this. And so I was like, you know what? I love this music. So I'm just going to go play some J.S. Bach over here. I say J.S., by the way. People are wondering because I think CPE, Carl Philipp Emanuel, and his sons were also cool people too in terms of their music. Yeah. So I always like to acknowledge, even though when we say Bach, so my students also know that I'll affectionately say JS.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that a lot. I always find it fascinating, those periods in life where our minds get changed.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Your mind was changed, right?
For sure. So I share that story with my students. The ones you may not like it right now. Just so every student of mine, the Bach is a requirement. But I also like to give. I believe in options too. So try this, because you never know. I also know. If someone had said to me, "You're going to record all of the J.S. Bach suites," I would have just said, right, sure, right."
But here you are.
Here I am. Yes.
So I'm curious. So you heard this George Walker recording?
Yes.
Early on.
Yes.
So then, how did that form your path through the repertoire? And was that something that you were encouraged in? Did you start to kind of really purposefully look for Black composers at that point in your life after hearing the George Walker?
Off and on.
Off and
on. But what was in my mind the entire time that didn't go away, I wanted to record that concerto.
Yeah.
I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I remember that very well. I want to record that concerto, and it had not been recorded. So that stuck in my mind, and that certainly shaped my dissertation. I went on to write about George Walker's. Luckily I had some conversations, wonderful conversations with him before he passed.
Mhm.
Went to his house. And actually went on to record the piece, and it was released in 2012. And we actually did our first. There was a first live performance for the first time in probably not since the 1970s,
Mm.
and so that was a thrill to be able to do that in 2022. But that certainly shaped the experiences. And then I went on to write about my dissertation is on African American composers and the piano concerto. So that certainly shaped what I did much later.
Be sure to listen to the full episode on our website, pianoinspires.com, on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.